Today on the World Triathlon Podcast, we have an Arena Games doubleheader special with triathlon power couple Max Stapley and Kate Waugh. Max made his Arena Games debut in fine style in Munich at the start of April, with second place behind Aurelien and Raphael. While this weekend in London, we'll see Kate's first start of 2022, but she is no stranger to the world of hybrid triathlon e-sport racing, having done Rotterdam and London in 2021. So thanks very much for coming on, Kate and Max. How are you? Where are you?
Thanks so much for having us. We're currently in Leeds in our apartment.
And we're doing very well.
Yeah, we're doing very well.
Excellent. And just out back from training. So I hear so this weekend, obviously the next round of the 2022 Arena Games series. Any real specifics that you're having to bring into the training to get ready for this weekend?
I think just becoming a bit of a pool swimmer, really. Sorry, excuse my voice. It's a bit gone today, but haven't had to really focus on tumble turns and streamlines and stuff for years. And now suddenly our swim coach is yelling at us, it's a pool swim this weekend, guys, so get ready. And it's true that it is all going to be details and, tumble turning, transitions, getting going on the treadmill, things like that. The little things I think cost you so much in this format. I think Kate would agree.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've just been working on the little things, working on our transitions, trying to put our hat and goggles on fast, just minor details that can make a really big difference in Arena Games. From both our experiences, I think we know that small mistakes can cost you a lot. So yeah, we've just been practicing things like that.
So just before we go on to the world of Arena Games, so I want to get a bit of background. Max, I know, even by sort of triathlete standards, it's fair to say you've had a fairly nomadic existence up to now, and obviously just done this transition right from representing France to representing Australia. So yeah, could you give us a quick kind of run through of what has brought you, well, essentially on the 20th of April to Leeds, I guess,
Yeah. I mean, right from the beginning, I was in the French junior program, identified as when I got third at a national aquathon when I was about 15.
And this was growing up in which part of France, sorry?
I was actually growing up in Australia.
Oh, right.
And my mum's French, so we used to go on holiday in the summer to France. Mm-hmm. And mum one day just kind of entered me into a French aquathon champs on holiday, and I got third. And the French national team came up to me and were like, do you want to come on a camp? And I was like, well, starry-eyed kid was like, well, for sure, I definitely want to come on a camp. And
having done it to what sort of level up to that point in Australia then?
Oh, very, very amateur. I was more into surfing and everything that a young Australian is into, kind of going up the bush, mountain biking and just being outdoors. And I'd always been quite a talented runner, but I was never really motivated. Dad used to have to drag me out the door to go do 35 minutes. But I always used to place fairly well at state, had a few top 10s at national cross. So I was decent, but I wasn't, chomping at the bit. And I think that aquathon really got the ball rolling. And the fact that, a big factor as well was that the Wizards were based in Wollongong, which is where I used to live. And mum used to treat them. So she's a physio. And having them kind of come through the backyard every day and, Gwen come through, Ryan Bailey, Aaron Royal, it kind of does put the idea in the back of your mind, especially when you are swimming and running, to I might want to give this a shot. And I think when I went well overseas, I thought, oh, this could be a good career path, I guess, to have to go work on a trade site somewhere.
All right, so you had literally the likes of Aaron Royal coming through your place as you were growing up, were you?
Yeah. So yeah, it's strange now to compete against people that, they've known me since I was probably 12 years old. I think Charlotte McShane's known me since I was 11, which is strange because now we're on teams together at World Cups and World Champs and stuff. So yeah. It is quite funny, but also very cool. I like the position I'm in now. So
yeah, and so off the back of that result in the nationals, you were still living in Australia, but was it just
Yeah, so
felt like
basically
the right thing to represent France?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll get back to your initial question. Was I was living in Australia, did that champs, and then they were like, you can come on a camp. Came on a camp, and from that camp, French have a really good junior identification kind of program where you can go to school, train at the same time, and they said, look, we'd really like you to join this program. And again, I was really keen and joined it. Was a part of it for 3 years in Montpellier and Saint-Raphael. And finished my schooling there, which was also a big change for me because I'd been in English and now transitioned to French, and the whole kind of culture shock. So it was a big eye opener for me in terms of, what is elite sport, a different culture, a different way of doing things. And I came out the other side, and I to be honest, I wasn't very happy towards the end, and I think I needed to come back to Australia. I think I'd kind of lost touch with the boy that left and the guy that came back. And yeah, I think it was just logical for me to transition to Australia because I was never going to really rekindle that flame that was lost as I left the French system. Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to put it. And also the fact that Jamie Turner was such a big influence, and he was head of Australia, like high performance at the time, not a high performance director, he was the high performance coach. And I just began my transition back, and finally through COVID it got done. So yeah, represented.
Right. So it was in that period that you were, it seemed like a good time to go through that sort of.
Yeah.
But you went to France speaking French, did you? Like that was, you were already through your mum spoke good French, or were you kind of going in there fairly
so
cold?
Again, I get the backstory to that is we lived in Montreal and I'd been to a French school.
Right. Yeah.
So I did have background in schooling in French. I didn't come in completely like English speaking, learn French. No, I'd always spoken French at home with my mum, English with my dad, because my mum's from Paris, my dad's from London. And that's kind of how we operated at home, was that one wouldn't reply if we spoke to the other in the wrong language. So I was always kind of inculcated to maintain my French side, despite being 17,000 kilometers away from Paris. So when I came back to France, there was a transition, obviously, like being a lot more smooth in everyday life and stuff like that. But no, it was a rather easy one as opposed to someone who'd never spoken French at home yet.
Yeah. So. Interesting. Yeah. And Kate, from your perspective, I suppose, like, you've both kind of coming through at a similar stage, obviously very sort of, similar ages and so on. And was there, I suppose it's interesting that between the two of you, three different sort of national setups, right? That all very kind of established from the French to the Australian to the GB one. So are there any, not I suppose literal similarities, but through your kind of pathway coming through, and obviously having certain figures that were there to spur you on and to inspire you as a younger triathlete as well?
I mean, I think Max and I have had very different kind of introductions to triathlon, in that I kind of did my first triathlon when I was probably about 7 or 8 years old, having swam with a club since I can remember, mainly focused on my running when I was a kid, and always done a lot of cycling with my dad and my granddad. I think we're different from that perspective. But I obviously was coming to an age where my first Olympics that I really kind of was captivated by was London 2012, and obviously watched the Brownlees dominate, watch people like Helen Jenkins compete really well, and that was so inspiring to me. And then I guess that really kind of grabbed my attention, and I was really inspired by that. And then obviously watching Non Stanford and Vicky Holland over those few years, as I was kind of really getting into the sport, I think, I kind of followed their journeys as I was a little kid. And now to be kind of turning up the pool training every day with Non there, and Vicky around as well, and people like Georgia and Jess, like it's really kind of surreal when I think about it, that I was just a little kid that used to kind of watch them on TV, and now I train with them. So it's funny how got myself to this point.
But equally, I guess, it's, when you put it like that, and it all sounds so straightforward in a way, but it's not, and you've obviously had to put yourself through a lot to get to that point as well. And Max, you were obviously out of your kind of comfort zone towards the end of your time in France, as you said. and both of you, I guess, are coming from like the flip side of coming through those established national federations is that there's a huge amount of pressure, right? For every athlete that they are investing a lot of money in comes the pressure of needing to get those results and so on. So yeah, Kate, is that something that you have felt, kind of emerging from the shadows of all those people you've just name checked as well, and knowing that there's an expectation of someone wearing the British triathlete suit to get those results?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's always kind of set the bar high as to what kind of the standard in British triathlon is. But I think it's made kind of the younger generation try and meet that expectation. And that's probably why we have such a strong array of athletes coming through the ranks at the moment, because there has kind of always been that bar set right at the top to try and hit. And I've always thought of myself as someone who kind of thrives under pressure, and especially when it comes to the big races and championships. So yeah, it's never been something that's kind of overwhelmed me or scared me. It's just kind of been something that I've done from such a young age. And I guess like when I was 12 years old, my biggest race of the year was national champs, and I got as nervous for that race as I do now for world champs. So there's always kind of been that nervousness and expectation on myself, but it's just the level of competition has just kind of increased as I've grown with age. So it has kind of been like a steady increase as to kind of what my standard has been, if that makes sense. The 8-year-old me was as nervous, probably if not more, because I like to think I'm a bit better at managing my nerves 15 years later. But yeah, I got as nervous for those races as I do for a world champs now. So it's just been part of my life, my whole life. So yeah, I've just grown with that, I guess.
So you guys are obviously a couple, but are you there with a view to, have you been there sort of through the closed season, and that was kind of like a choice given the sort of residual pandemic situation going on, or have you just recently come there to kick off the season and do the Arena Games?
No, I mean, I live here full time, so
right.
We live together, train together, and shop together, do everything together. No, yeah, basically I got to a point at the end of 2021, sorry, where I I had to make a choice in terms of coaching, and I'd recently just got with Kate and came to visit her for 2 weeks and just never left. We met in Girona. We'd met before, but we got together in Girona. And traveled to Korea, had a great time, great results, especially for Kate. And she said, why don't you come out in 2 weeks' time? And I was like, okay.
Came to visit me in Leeds, said he was staying for 3 weeks, and then he never left. And now it's April.
Yeah, and she's still trying to get me out. No, I just, to be honest though, I showed up and just saw the environment, saw the group, saw the professionalism that exists here in Leeds, and I think that's a testament to the results they do obtain, especially with GB Tri and the centres in Leeds and Loughborough. And I selfishly did want to be a part of that, and I'm very grateful that I have been able to be included in that, and yeah, just to be a value contributor and to just take part in what's going on here.
And is that how it can work then, as a valued contributor? And, what kind of loopholes do you have to go through in a way, or hoops do you have to jump through in order to be like, oh yeah, come join us? Because presumably that isn't something that everyone would be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously us being together is a big factor. But second of all, I think it's just what you bring to the table. And I think that the people at the centre liked what I could bring. I get on really, really well with, the senior athletes here, such as Tom Bishop. I've known Non Stanford. We trained together through COVID because she was in Wollongong with her partner, Aaron. And I think I just had some people vouching for me, and I got lucky, I think.
Yeah. The girls' kind of contingency is pretty strong in Leeds, and the men's side was just, I mean, obviously there's some really strong athletes, but it was a much smaller group, and I think strong athletes that could kind of broaden out the group, especially over the grueling winters in Leeds, were always welcome. So yeah, I think it came at a good time for the squad. And there were a lot of changes going on in Leeds Triathlon Centre anyway. So yeah, it worked well for Max to come then.
Well, yeah, and I saw you post a couple of pictures on your Insta after Munich, and the people bigging you up and saying well done and stuff ranged from like your Barbara Riveros greats to Tim Don to it was amazing the sort of selection. So yeah, obviously you've got the guys vouching for you there.
Oh yeah, I think that's just kind of what you mentioned at the top of the show, was the fact that I have been through so many kind of systems, groups, places. Is I have been that's very fortunate. Like I won't lie, like to have met all those people and to have spoken to, been able to train with Vincent Louis and Martin Van Riel, Aaron, Ryan, Gwen, to see how they operate and to also kind of understand, okay, that's what it takes. And yeah, just to have them on side, I think is always a good thing. If they are on side. I don't know.
Equally, obviously, in Australia, you've got Joel just moving over there, kind of, doing the opposite direction, I suppose. So how does that factor in terms of, there's no sense of what's happening over there and perhaps kind of missing out a little bit on the sort of the new regime that's taking part there, or?
I think obviously Joel, his resume speaks for itself. Like he is obviously one of the most successful coaches in the history of the sport, and I think a lot of people would wonder why I wouldn't go and join that setup on the Gold Coast. And I think personally, having been stuck in Australia for 2 years with COVID, we were blocked from leaving the country. We couldn't race, we couldn't compete, we couldn't even go to different states. And I know that has changed now, but at the time when I left in 21, that was still the case. And I think once I met Kate and my life started to become more and more European and my group was here, I just it wasn't really thought of. Like I did consider going back home and basing out of the Gold Coast, and those centers that TA have got going I'm sure are great. I just think for my personal position right now, this is where I need to be, and this is also where I want to be as well. So I think I'd rather be happy in the cold than missing Kate in the sun.
Oh.
That's beautifully put.
I get some brownie points for that.
And equally, I guess that was a very unique set of circumstances to that period of time, right? The whole kind of, if you want to, there was that period of, right, this is the Australian setup. It was pre-Olympic, there was lockdown, and that was how they sort of, it had to be dealt with, right? So that, I guess is hopefully something that we won't have to return to anyway.
Yeah, and at the time where I was having to make my coaching decision and all those decisions in October, November, the country was still closed. So I wasn't in a place where I wanted to deal with that. I didn't want to deal with having to wonder when and where my next race was. And I know that has evolved and it has changed. But if you look at the races that have happened in Australia at the start of the year, it was still limited. The Kiwis couldn't travel because the restrictions were still in place. So I just wanted to be amongst it. And I know that Europe's where triathlon lives, and just want to be able to race every weekend, or, whether that be ITU, Arena Games, whether that be French Grand Prix racing, which is also very important for me, and Bundesliga, or just to be amongst it, I think is why I'm here as well.
Yeah. Which is interesting that you travel to the other side of the World Triathlon Cups in Korea, in Hyundai and Dongyeong, right, where both of you put in great results and great performances and so on. I mean, Kate, that must have left you at the end of 2021, like reflecting on, well, just looking forward to the next year, basically. Obviously, it had been a kind of, again, like a bit of a unique year and a lot of noise around the Olympics that had perhaps, I don't know, how did that leave you in terms of your own season when you're kind of on the cusp of a team like that? And obviously the Olympics was just out of reach, and presumably, your focus would be more Paris or LA anyway.
I was really, really happy. I never actually expected to come away with 2 podiums there. I was kind of in a position where it was getting to the end of the season last year, and I'd started my season in August because I'd been injured all at the start of last year. So I kind of was getting towards the end of the season and I felt like I'd just got going. So I kind of saw the 2 World Cups in Korea, which I knew was going to be a bit of a crazy trip with all the restrictions there were with COVID, but I just really, really wanted to race still. And I think because I still kind of had that fire going into the races, that kind of gave me an advantage in itself, just because I was just so excited to still be racing and it was October. So yeah, no, I was really happy. Obviously would have loved to have gone one up in Tongyong the week after Hyundai, but yeah, it was a really, really good trip. And yeah, I was lucky to travel with Max as well, so that made it a really fun trip.
Because it was quite a lot of travel, right? There were a few fairly hefty bus rides in there as well. Is that
Yeah, it was a pretty unique experience. I think
character building.
We had to travel kind of all the athletes in a bubble, which was kind of quite nice in a way, because you never really get the chance to kind of interact with like your competitors quite casually as well. Like we obviously had a bit of time in between racing where we were all traveling together, so it was quite nice to get to know the people that you race against all year in pretty beautiful places as well. So I definitely want to go back and race there, because I really, really enjoyed the trip. Like the organization was incredible, those races, considering all the restrictions. So yeah, it was a really fun way to end the year.
And so both of you scored your best World Cup finishes, right? Was your 5th in Hyundai as well, Max? That was your
6th, yeah.
6th, sorry, yeah. Plenty of fuel for heading into this season, and you've done European Cups so far, right, Kate and Max? Or
no, I'm yet to start. This weekend will be the start of my season.
Right. Yeah. Is that through planning, or was there
kind of it's a race I've done before, so it's quite nice to kind of have a race that you're a bit more, I guess, familiar with. Thank you. But yeah, it's a local race as well, so we're not having to travel too far. It's not going to interrupt training too much, but I think the main part of my season will start in June. I'm really wanting to kind of become more experienced in WTCS racing this year, race some World Cups, and then with a focus on World Champs at the end of the year. It's my final year. Well, it's our final year under 23s. So I think we both have a big focus on that at the end of the year, but with a lot of racing in between, as it's obviously not until the end of November. So there's a lot that can go on between there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I suppose with the season not finishing till Abu Dhabi November, then there's less hurry to get started. But yeah, the Arena Games seems like a good way to do that, right? To blow away the cobwebs and sharpen the skills and so on. Did you have any specific little nuggets of advice for Max going into his first one last 2 weekends ago?
I think I just told him that you won't be prepared for how hard it's going to be. So you just have to go hard. Like there's nothing quite like the lung bin of an indoor Arena Games. Like it's pretty next level. I don't think I'm prepared quite for how much it's going to hit again. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to do it. It's always like a really good and fun event. So yeah, I mean, I must have given him some all right advice, because he did okay. So.
I should just come out the door and said, watch the replays, mate.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you must have, did you kind of surprise yourself a little bit, Max, with that? There was, obviously Martin and Alex were perhaps the favourites on paper. Aurelien, the oldest guy in the field, and what was probably considered by most kind of a new school format, he then just blew it apart, didn't he?
Yeah, I of course I wasn't expecting to come over the podium when you've got that caliber of guys. I mean, even looking at my heat, I was like, wow, I'm drawing the short straw on this one. And guys like Justus Nieschlag as well, like very seasoned athletes that have got amazing credentials. So to just be racing against them, I was already pretty happy to be in the final. I even joked to Gordon Benson before walking out, I should just give the crowd a wave, 800 quid, a U-turn and go home. But I had to at least jump in the water. But no, it was coming away with second. It was great. I think I could have gone a bit earlier on the sprint, and maybe I would have been able to bridge, but it was no, it is a whole new format, because you learn so much about the kind of Zwift algorithm. You learn a lot about, what it's like to swim after a run, or stuff like you would never ever do in a triathlon. So it does make you a more versatile athlete, I think, more an experienced athlete, and just it's a really good practice at just keeping your head when you've got a crowd, when you've got noise, you've got cameras, you got a triathlon, you got a countdown clock, counting down for a minute, and you never ever get that many inputs. Oftentimes you can kind of go in the athlete lounge, have your noise cancelling headphones, and just zone out, but there's no zoning out in the arena. So it's a kind of a very good exercise in concentration, in a way, and in just focusing on yourself. And I think that's very useful going into, maybe our first year on the WTCS, where there are going to be so many, stronger athletes that we haven't raced before, probably bigger crowds, more media attention. So I think it's a great little taster and introduction, and Super League do such a great job at the whole organization side of things, and the partnership with World Triathlon is just amazing, that we've been able to nominate for those races and not be able, and it'll be opened up to everyone else. So just a big thanks to Super League and everyone involved for creating that event. It was great. Yeah.
What is the hardest element of it, would you say? If you could break down one, whether it's, there was the moment where Martin Van der Merwe had obviously just finished his swim and was about to haul himself out of the pool and just realized he needed a minute before he could do that. And, then there's getting those curved treadmills started and getting up to speed and so on. There's the camera guys basically in your face for quite a lot of it too.
I genuinely think those treadmills are horrendous. Like they are very, very difficult. And it's literally just, Aurelian got hit there. Yeah, I don't know if there is a technique. I've been trying to I think there is a bit, but it's just go hard, isn't it? It's just really go full gas and hope for the best. And I think the person that can get off the line really well and get that thing rolling, and once they're rolling, just kind of hold their stride rate and stay concentrated, I think is the main thing, because they are very tricky, and it's not like running around a track. And you just got no rest, because if you kind of start sagging back, the whole thing loses momentum, and you have to go back to the front, which is then even harder to get it back rolling. And it's just, it's just about being really consistent, sticking to your effort. I don't know. What do you think, Kate? She's done it before. Come on.
I find them so difficult. I think you can also overthink it as well and try to change your technique, and but I think just running hard and trying
to be honest, it's just so hard. You just gotta go full gas.
Yeah, but like you said, like that if you lose the momentum, then you have to build that back up again. So you do see the speeds oscillating quite heavily. Is that so? There's a certain kind of rhythm to it as well, that if you fall out of, presumably it's quite easy to kind of lose track a bit, is it?
Yeah, I guess even just like when you're tiring and you lean back a bit, it can pretty much put the brakes on the treadmill as well. So you kind of just have to be constantly moving forward in a way.
On the run course, I towards the end, I kind of figured out when the 100-meter markers were. So I was like, all right, 400 to go, 300 to go, and you can kind of mentally coach yourself into being like, there's not much left here. Just keep going, I guess, because in a race you don't really know exactly where the last 200, 300 is. Whereas on Zwift, you can kind of have a mental coping mechanism to be like, this is hurting, but I do only have 200 to go. So I think that's a way that I got around.
Yeah. And you're kind of looking occasionally at your screen, occasionally up at the big screen, right? You need to have the big screen to have a context of where everyone is, or?
Well, you've got the tablet in front of you, which has got what you're seeing on the broadcast, I presume.
But is the tablet just showing from your perspective, right? That's your avatar that you're seeing.
It shows you third person, kind of removed. You see your avatar.
Yeah.
Running, and you can see who's in front of you, but you can't see who's behind you.
So if you're leading,
you can see them on the timing splits, but you can't physically turn your head and see where the avatar is.
But if you looked at the big screen, you'd have that slightly more kind of pack view, right?
If you look at the big screen, you've got what's broadcast to the public. So you can see where everyone is. but when you're looking at your own screen, you can just see yourself and the splits.
And then I suppose it's also like the pacing through each of those stages, right? You can kind of tell whoever's able to keep the consistency going through the 3 stages seems to be the one that does well. And there's obviously some that would just freaking fall off down the end there as well. So yeah, when you're sort of struggling to jam on your goggles and hoping that you've got them straight enough so you're not getting water coming in the side and so on, there's that whole multiple things to think about. Scrambling,
and especially now they've all been kind of regimented, and like the rules are in place that you do need to have goggles on, you do need to have shoes on, so you can't just be like, oh, cap, go. You got to be like, cap, goggles, and then when you get out, they got to be back in the box, otherwise that's 5 seconds, and 5-second penalty on Arena Games, I think, is your race pretty much over, like it's finished.
And the atmosphere in there in Munich, obviously there was some restrictions still, but great. You could see as Justus Nieschlag came out and the crowd kind of erupted, and the look across his face of just that, oh yeah, this is something a bit new. And then obviously the Olympic Aqua Park is going to be sold out. So Kate, you've got to be thinking there's going to be a bit of a boost there. You're going to be milking the crowd.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. I've never really competed in front of like as big a crowd as this will be, especially a home crowd.
Kate's been practicing her walkout. She's got her nails done, so look out for those.
Yeah, I did get my nails done, especially today. So I hope to have a zoom in on that.
Are they like smiley faces? What have you got on there?
Yeah, no.
Nice.
But I got given the yellow suit, which I wasn't too happy about initially because I'm not sure about the colour yellow. But I thought I was going to fully embrace it, so I got yellow nails as well. So
yeah, strong.
Yeah, if Super League listen to this before the race, please can have a little zoom in.
And part of that is presumably just to keep your spirits up when the chips are down halfway through the race and you catch a glimpse of your nails, and that's gonna that's true, perk you up.
All around. I'm not sure you'll see me smiling in that race, but maybe afterwards or before. Yeah.
But you know, having that atmosphere, I think could be, I mean, it must have been quite weird last year racing in there in a completely empty venue.
Yeah, it was a really strange experience, I have to say. It just felt like a really, I don't know, just it felt like more like a training session, I guess, but with kind of girls that you race against, because it was weird without the crowd. So it will be really, really cool to have a crowd there this weekend. I'm really excited.
I mean, that's kind of the whole ethos of it, isn't it? Like, it's in Arena Games, and what's an arena without people in there? And it sort of feels that both from a spectator point of view, in and outside of the arena, and the athlete point of view, it could just kind of elevate it to a whole different level. You just can't get that arena atmosphere in a standard kind of outdoor course, can you?
Well, we so for the heats, there weren't too many people there, but then in the finals, in Munich, the boys came a bit later after the girls, and they were just erupting every time a German would come out, and we kind of, you know, wandered out of the warm-up zone and had a look, and it was, you know, it was only like 50% full, but it was still super loud, and we were like, wow, this is actually pretty cool, you know. And when you walk out and people cheer, it's kind of foreign, because it doesn't really happen. It happens, but to a lesser extent when you're outdoors, because the sound really reverberates indoors. So
yeah. Oh, and off the water, those sort of, a swim meet crowd makes a very specific kind of rumble noise, doesn't it? It's going to be. And actually, you know, it does, I suppose, being up close and personal. I know you said like being in that environment means you're a bit more focused on what you've got to do, but at the same time, the crowd is going to be kind of as close as it's ever going to be for, you know, the bike and the run segment especially. But well, no, the swim more than anything, I guess. But yeah, that extra opportunity to kind of interact a bit with the crowd and get the personalities of the athletes across is something that the Arena Games can bring that I think perhaps other formats maybe struggle with a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess because it's a smaller field as well, there is a lot more focus on the individual athletes. So yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting.
And drafting switched off for this one for the first time? Like,
That
you
was
know,
such a plot twist.
Yeah, that was a plot twist yesterday briefing. Yeah, I think you'll see a much more splintered race. I think you'll have people that would otherwise be in a pack that will end up a bit further back, and vice versa. So with Alex, the power he was pushing, he shouldn't have only got on the pack. He would have dropped all of us. That power was ridiculous, and I think if he does that again, you know, that he'll be able that time he loses in the water will be all but negated by the end of the bike. And then I think it'll change the way people ride the race. We'll have a bit less attacks, maybe a bit more of a linear effort. I mean, I think everyone will do their own thing, but it'll definitely be, I think, even a bit harder. You know, we're sitting here saying it's already super hard, but the fact there's no drafting means you've literally just, there's no moment where you can kind of just, okay, I'm in the pack, I'm just gonna manage this. You just got to go. Yeah, you just got to basically just do a 4K TT every time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more like an individual time trial now, because there's nowhere really to hide. Like because there's no pack, you can't, yeah, like Mike said, you can't sit up at any point. It's just, yeah, as hard as you can go for that particular distance and time, and be able to kind of spread it across the number of stages. So yeah, I think it's going to really change the racing dynamics, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Was that run through online the other day the first that you'd heard about that then? Was that the bombshell dropped?
Yeah.
They kind of told us at the start, like, there's going to be some changes, but yeah, we weren't really expecting that, and it does really change the dynamic of racing, like we said. So yeah, it was a big plot twist.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, when they like Kate said, like when they said there were going to be changes, I thought, you know, maybe they're just going to tweak some box adjustments or where to put your shoes, but to turn off the drafting, I think is definitely a big move.
So that, I guess, that takes the pressure somewhat off that first swim as well, does it?
I think when you're up the road, it's always pretty good to just have that time, even if it makes the people behind work harder. You know, I don't know. I think you can bury yourself though by swimming a bit too hard, but also I just don't think you want to be. I don't think you want to be consciously being like, okay, I'm going to bridge on the bike, because then you might not have the legs that day. So I think you just got to race it. You just got to race it like you'd race any race, but just know that you're on your own on the bike. Yeah. Maybe just like maybe how you would approach a mixed relay if you knew that your team was caught between two packs, I think is the way I'll approach it. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Have to wait and see. And yeah, what will it take to catch Beth, do you think, Beth Potter, Kate? I mean, you know, you've had plenty of experience of being in and around her at the pointy end of races now, so
yeah, I think the non-drafting will definitely change the game a bit. Yeah, I guess we'll just have to put her under a bit of pressure on the bike, if we can. And I say we, I guess there's a few people looking to kind of beat Beth this weekend as well. But yeah, I think the non-drafting will definitely play a part in that. And yeah, I guess just have to try and be the best athlete on the day. See how it goes.
I think Beth's gonna have to do some chasing.
And then you're planning Singapore final, Max. Yes, but Kate, that's not part of your.
No, that's not part of the plan at the moment. I know the back end of the year is going to be a lot of traveling, so I'm trying to kind of limit travel at the start of the year, just to avoid burnout, if I'm honest, and just to be able to still feel all right by November. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be a long season, so yeah, I'm just trying to start my year a bit later than usual. But yeah, the plan isn't Singapore at the moment. Yeah, and we'll just have to see.
And imagine being sort of, you know, in the running for first ever triathlon esport world championship title, Max.
Yes, indeed. I want a special jersey on Zwift. So if anyone from Zwift's listening to, I want stripes on my avatar.
Nice.
No, but I'd put my name down for Singapore just because I just put my name down and thought I can always pull out. But now that I've got second, guess I got to go. So
Yeah,
you know,
immortalized in your Zwift avatar. That's got to be the thing, right?
yeah, I mean, don't worry about the money. Just give me the avatar.
Just a crown on your head as you're going around the whole way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be so popular in my age group because of that, I reckon.
All right, brilliant. Well, if I've got a couple of sort of little quick fire questions that I just wanted to get through to you both as well. We'll start with Kate. Your sort of top race performance to date, the one that you look back on and are kind of most proud of.
Oh, I think probably coming second in Rotterdam at my first World Championship as a junior. That was a really, really big moment for me and kind of made me realize that I could probably have a good career in this, maybe. So I think that really kind of ignited like a flame in me to like really believe in myself and give it a good go in triathlon.
And Taylor Knibb, who took that gold, didn't she? Was it? Yeah. So
yeah. I hope to be within 15 seconds of it. Well, I think
only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Max?
Me, I think it was sixth in Hyundai last year. I'd just come off a huge injury that I thought was going to take me out for this season. I had a femoral neck stress fracture, which was pretty advanced. And I'd only done probably like 4 or 5 weeks of running going into that race, and to come away with sixth, only like 20 seconds down on the podium was big. So I think the way I just picked myself back up and just went out there and did the best I could on the day, and didn't let my head drop when I was told that I wouldn't be able to run until 2022. So yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. And there were no kind of like niggles after that. Nothing that did you kind of come out thinking, right, that's totally
I was still in pain. Like I won't lie, I could still feel it. Like I was at the point where I had no option because my ranking was so bad and I hadn't raced for 2 years because of COVID. So I did need to go out there and also have a good race. I couldn't just go out there and participate. And I was still in pain. I'd run a bit and would still feel it, but the physio team were confident that if the pain wasn't increasing, then the bone was healed. It was just residual pain. So yeah, it was a bit touch and go, but pulled it off.
Yeah. How nice. Favorite race venues to date, Kate?
I loved Lausanne. I thought the atmosphere and course and whole place was incredible there. Apart from the prices, I thought that was one of my favorite races.
Like the shine off the Swiss prices, kind of.
Yeah.
Max?
I think, I'm going to be boring and have to say Lausanne as well. The place is amazing. To have a WTS there again would be so great. I can remember being stood on the side of the course during the elite men's, and it was like a Tour de France stage when they came up the hill. It was crazy. So yeah, put it back on the calendar.
Were you under 23 in Lausanne, Kate?
Yeah.
So you had the
23 World Championship. Yeah.
It was the full course experience there then.
Yeah. So I think it was actually a slightly different course, but the crowds and stuff was still probably the best venue I've competed at for sure.
An ideal training partner, like if you could train with anyone from around the sport or beyond, who would it be, Kate?
The whole sport. Well,
you can't say each other. No, you can't point. That's ruined it.
I'm so boring. I think I'd love to train alongside Flora Duffy and just kind of have an insight into how the world champ and Olympic champ trains. I think she's pretty inspiring. She's always been a big inspiration to me. So yeah, maybe Flora. Seems like a nice person.
Yeah.
Me, I really enjoyed training alongside Vincent Louis. I thought that his whole approach to training and how he always seems to be in control and very meticulous with his gear and just very professional in general, I thought was great. And just to be able to just observe him and listen to him talk about race tactics and stuff was super insightful. So I'm really sorry my voice is going.
It's good. We're almost there. We're almost at the line.
Yeah. So yeah, and the fact he's such a good athlete. I'm sorry.
You get emotional talking about Vince. But that was Girona, was it, like through 21 and just so what we see of Vince and what we would kind of expect, I guess, of someone, the way that he performs and presents himself is pretty much how he carries it out through training, I think.
Always the guy with the cleanest bike, always got the fresh shoes, always got his nutrition on point, always in control in sessions, never overextending, never doing more than he has to on top of his recovery, just the whole lot. He's just pro, isn't he?
Yeah. Biggest influence on your career so far, Kate? Give Max a minute to rest his throat.
Okay, absolutely.
Well, yeah, I guess my parents got me into the sport, so I'll forever be grateful that they kind of signed me up to the local triathlon when I was 7 years old. I have them to thank for where I am today.
I'd also like to thank my parents. They got me into it as well. They paid for everything and did everything. But I think a person within triathlon who was a big influence was Jamie Turner, coach of the Wollongong Wizards. Instilled in me a lot of things that I carry with me today, and I still talk to him very regularly. He's my coach and still kind of inputs on my training. So yeah, Jamie Turner. I think arguably the first one to have an international group, including Barbara Riveros, Aaron Royal, Ryan Bailey, Ryan Keane, Matt Sharp, Tyler Misselchuk, Gwen Jorgensen, the lot.
All right, finally, which format, if you could pick one, Arena Games, Eliminator, Sprint, Standard, or Relay, which is your top?
Sprint.
Yeah.
Yes, at the moment it's the sprint, I'd say. I'd love to do more relays. I really, really am keen to do more relays because I love being part of kind of a bigger. I feel like triathlon is such a kind of selfish sport in a way. It's so nice to be part of something that feels like a team event. So yeah, I'd love to compete more in relays.
Super League.
Super League. Super League, yeah.
Yeah, I guess when something like that is introduced and you're in those kind of formative years getting into the sport, then that, I suppose, sort of reaffirms that your sport is going places, right?
Yeah, and I think it kind of added a bit of glamour and kind of a bit of revival to the sport of triathlon as well. So it was just such an exciting thing to kind of come onto the scene that I think everyone who's on the circuit is lying if they don't want to be part of it.
Beyond London, Kate, is Leeds your first sort of port of call, your big one to tick off for the start of the season and get a gauge of where you are in terms of your fitness and performance and so on?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have to get a start first because I'm currently the 8th ranked Brit and I'm not sure how many starts the Brits will get given, but if I do get a start, which I really, really hope to, because it would be a home race and it would be incredible to race kind of a couple of miles away from where we live. That'll be kind of my first big race of the season. So yeah, fingers crossed I get a start for it. And if I do, I'm really excited.
Azucena, is that one on either of your lists? Azucena?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be in Azucena. Again, watched the race for a few years. The hill, the format, the hard racing, I think suits me quite well. So to go out there, a World Cup standard, it'll be pretty packed. will be really exciting. So keen to get out there and see what's what, and maybe again, hopefully myself as well, fingers crossed, get a start at Leeds 3 weeks later. Would be great to do a race where we do our Saturday morning runs. Would be pretty weird, but pretty fun as well.
Is the Commonwealth Games on either of your kind of horizons? Obviously there was the Australian qualification race, wasn't there, a couple of weekends ago, Max? How does that kind of pan out? How many athletes will be going from Australia, for example?
So 3 slots in male and female. Matt Howes has already been pre-selected, so has Sophie Lynn, because they both won the qualifier. There's 2 spots on discretion.
Right.
I think there's another criteria in Yokohama, top 8. So yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. I think I'll be relying on the discretion, but I don't know if that's for me this year, but I'll try and raise as hard as I can and see what the selectors think.
Yeah, I think for me, a selection would obviously be like a huge bonus. It's not kind of at the forefront, but yeah, I have to kind of get on certain start lines first to put myself in contention. So I haven't completely written it off. I would absolutely love to go to a Com Games, especially one in England, but yeah, it's going to be tough. There's only one spot up for grabs in Team England, so yeah, it'll be competitive, but I haven't written it off, but it's also kind of not what I'm focusing my year around either, so it would be a bonus. A big bonus.
Yeah. And then I guess nice to be in this kind of position you are now, whereby, you know, Paris is presumably on both your horizons. LA, perhaps, I don't know, as much, if not more so, right? But feeling like, you know, your Hyundai's and Huato and Tongyong results are obviously showing that the trajectory that you would want to be on at this kind of stage. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, definitely. I think Paris is obviously, I think in both of our minds, there's like a long-term goal, and obviously LA as well would be a focus for us. I think, yeah, I obviously would like to kind of build on my results of last year and keep kind of working myself up the ranks and put myself in contention for a spot at Paris. Yeah, it's definitely in my mind. I think that's why I kind of want to just acquire some experience racing like the top level WTS races, because I've only done one so far, so I definitely just need to kind of expose myself to that high-end level of racing.
Yeah, equally, I think any athlete's goal is to go to an Olympic Games, so you always aim for the next one, and I think that like, I'll just echo what Kate's been saying, it's just about putting yourself out there at WTCS and racing the best guys and girls and seeing what comes of it, being at the front and just trying your best. And then I guess a lot of the selection's out of our hands when it comes to anything that isn't automatic selection, so we don't have that criteria yet. Climbing the rankings and the Olympic ranking and just establishing yourself, I think, is a good way forward to Olympic qualification.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, yeah, best of luck with the final preparations for this weekend. Is it like an evening of just pulling on hats and goggles quickly, turning the heating up full whack and opening the
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
We're probably going to head down tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, some packing, maybe a bit of bike cleaning.
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to get dirtier anyway. Once it's done, it's done.
But I can't share it with a dirty bike.
Yeah.
Not do. Yeah.
I was trying with my Windsor bike with mud guards on.
Yeah.
Max, gargle with some TCP or something for those post-race interviews. Yeah, wish you both obviously the very best. We're looking forward to seeing it.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Cheers,
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.